guys! So this week we're going to read a brand new story, one we haven't read in class. It's called Penguin Chick, and it's about the lives of emperor penguins in Antarctica. You can follow along with me. You can read the story by yourself after. You can research about these penguins and their lives, and you can use that information to help you write an informational paragraph about penguins, just like we did with the octopuses. You can write kind of the life cycle of a penguin. Hope you have a good rest of your week, and I will see you again next week. So this week we're going to have a new story, one we haven't read before in class. It's going to be about penguins. We're going to go through some of the vocabulary before I read the story and kind of what ideas we're looking at for the week. We won't be able to do our normal CCD chart where I'd show you a picture and you'd predict what the word means, and then we'd share ideas on how or where we've seen that word before. I'm just going to go through each word and tell you the definition. And kind of tell you a little bit more about those words. So the first word is webbed, and webbed means that you have skin between your toes. So when we think about birds, we think about them having webbed feet. Some of the birds have webbed feet, like a duck, where they have skin in between their toes. It helps them swim better in the water. It kind of works as like a flipper would. The next word is waterproof. So when something's waterproof, it means that water can't get through it. So a lot of you might have weatherproof jackets or coats, something that when it's raining, water won't be able to get you wet. The third word is steer, and this word there's more than one definition for this word. In this story, we're talking about steering as in having control of something. Like you steer a car, you want it to go in a certain direction, you want it to go somewhere. But you can also use the word steer when we talk about like a male cow is a steer. But in this story, in its context, it means to like find direction, go a certain way, like you would if you were steering your bike or your car, something like that. The fourth word is whistle, and whistle means to make a high musical sound with your mouth. It's kind of something you teach yourself to do. In the story, you'll in context, it talks about like the wind whistling, or that's kind of like when it's really windy out and you can kind of hear the wind going through the trees or the houses. The next word is otherwise, and otherwise means that if things were different. So, like if you didn't have, if the penguin's dad didn't take care of the egg, then the egg is going to get really cold. So, otherwise is like if things were different, what would happen? The next word is junior. So we've talked about junior a little bit because we have some juniors in our class. So in that kind of junior, we talk about like you being named after your dad. This junior, as we're going to read in the story, is like being younger or having a lower rank. So there's like ranks of penguins. There's like the adult penguins, and then there's the junior penguins, and then there's the baby penguins. So the junior To be a junior means that you're still young. You're like a teenager, kind of. The next word is slippery. So slippery means that it's something's difficult to hold on to. So if you think about like when there's water on the ground, it might be slippery because you don't have anything to hold on to because that water's making the ground easier for you to fall, or ice is slippery. And the last word is finally. And finally means that something has taken a long time, or it might seem like it's taken a long time. So something that takes time. So if we think about this week, our target skill for the week is main ideas and details. So we're thinking about a topic. What is the whole story about? When we talk about a topic, we're thinking about in an informational text, a lot of times the topic's found in the title. So the topic is what is the whole story going to be about. And then we have something called a main idea. We've went over these before. A main idea is something, just that little paragraph. So like the first paragraph, what is the idea about that paragraph? So if we're talking about like a penguin's life cycle, and there's multiple paragraphs, and the first paragraph is about like what they eat, and the second paragraph's about how they're taken care of by their parents, and the third paragraph's about where they live. Each paragraph has its own main idea for you to find. A lot of times a story will focus on one main idea as well, or it could. You got to look for details. There's going to be facts and examples that tell you more about the main idea. So our preview for this week is animal development. And it says, animals change as they grow. Many baby animals stay with at least one parent while they are young. The parent helps the young animal stay safe and find food. As a young animal grows, it becomes more like an adult. Its appearance may change. It starts to look like an adult animal. It also learns to take care of itself. The young animal is then able to live on its own. You will learn about how penguin parents care for a young penguin in Penguin Chick. Penguin Chick by Betty Tatham. So our genre for this week is narrative nonfiction. So I don't think we've actually read a story that's been a narrative nonfiction so far. So a narrative nonfiction means that it's going to tell a story, because narratives always tell a story, beginning, middle, and end. There's going to be settings, there's going to be characters, and it's going to have a plot, maybe. But it's a nonfiction story, so that means that it's real. So it's going to be a real life story. So if we think about it, in narrative nonfictions, the author tells a story while using facts from real life. As we look through the book, we're going to see photos, so real pictures, that help you see some more ideas of the nonfiction, and you're going to hear that the author is telling a story while giving you facts. A fierce wind howls. It whips snow across the ice. Here, a female emperor penguin has just laid an egg. It is the only egg she will lay this year. Most birds build nests for their eggs, but on the ice in Antarctica, there are no twigs or leaves. There is no grass or mud, nothing to build a nest with, nothing but snow and ice. So at the beginning of the story, the author is kind of giving you a picture to see in your head. There's, you can kind of see in the background, there are no trees, there's no dirt. It is just snow and ice. So they're trying to give you a picture of the fact that it's really, really hard, and it's like a hard life in Antarctica. They're letting you know by the pictures and the words that it's not an easy place to live. The new penguin father uses his beak to scoop the egg onto his webbed feet. He tucks it under his feather-covered skin into a special place called a brood patch. The egg will be as snug and warm there as if it were in a sleeping bag. So, by them telling you that the egg's got to be snug and warm, they're letting you know it's really cold up there. Something unique about penguins is that the father takes care of them. The dad is the one that watches the egg hatch and takes care of the egg instead of the mother. One of the penguin's parents must stay with the egg to keep it warm. But where penguins lay their eggs, there is no food for them to eat. The penguin father is bigger and fatter than the mother. He can live longer without food. So the father penguin stays with the egg while the mother travels to the sea to find food. The two parents sing together before the mother penguin leaves. So, you can tell right now there's a difference between a mother penguin and a father penguin. A male penguin is bigger. They're often taller and they're fatter, so they're able to live off of their body longer than the female penguin. She has to go out and hunt for food, where the male penguin can stay with the baby for a longer period of time. Along with many other penguins, the mother penguin leaves the rookery, where she laid her egg. The mother walks or slides on her belly. This is called tobogganing. She uses her flippers and webbed feet to push herself forward over ice and snow. Because it's winter in Antarctica, water near the shore is frozen for many miles. After 3 days, the mother penguin comes to the end of the ice. She dives into the water to hunt for fish, squid, and tiny shrimp-like creatures called krill. So this is a picture right here of penguins tobogganing. So tobogganing is actually like something that you can do in the winter. It's a sport, and we got the idea from penguins. So being able to slide on their bellies. It's hard for them to walk because their feet are so close together. They can't fly, and their feet are made for the water. So it's faster for them to slide on their bellies. They can get places quicker. Back at the rookery, the penguin father forms a group called a huddle. They stand close together for warmth. Each one keeps his own egg warm. For 2 months, the penguin father always keeps his egg on his feet. When he walks, he shuffles his feet so the egg doesn't roll away. He sleeps standing up. He has no food to eat, but the fat on his body keeps him alive. Finally, he feels the chick move inside the egg. The chick pecks and pecks and pecks. In about 3 days, the egg cracks open. The chick is wet, but soon his soft feathers, called down, dry and become fluffy and gray. The father still keeps the chick warm in his brood patch. Sometimes the chick pokes his head out, but while he's so little, he must stay covered, and he must stay on his father's feet. Otherwise, the cold would kill him. The father talks to the chick in his trumpet voice. The chick answers with a whistle. So, if we think about this in the order of in which the egg opens, the chick moves inside the egg, and then he has to start pecking his way out. Once he's out of the egg, the father has to make sure that he stays on his feet, and underneath his brood patch right here, it's kind of like a little pocket for the penguin to rest in. That way he stays very warm, because he doesn't have these kinds of feathers yet. He still has fluffy feathers, so it's easier for him to get cold. The father's trumpet call echoes across the ice. The penguin mother is on her way back to the rookery, but she can't hear him. She's still too far away. If the mother doesn't come back soon with food, the chick will die. 2 days pass before the mother can hear the father's penguin's call. At last, the mother arrives at the rookery. She cuddles close to her chick and trumpets to him. He whistles back. With her beak, she brushes his soft gray down. The mother swallows many fish before she left the ocean. She brings some of this food back up from her stomach and feeds her chick. She has enough food to keep him fed for weeks. He stays on her feet and snuggles into her brood patch. The father is very hungry, so he travels to open water. There he dives to hunt for food. Weeks later, the father returns with more food for the chick. Each day, the parents preen or brush the chick's downy coat with their beaks. This keeps the down fluffy and keeps the chick warm. So, the mother and father penguin have to preen the chick's feathers. That means they kind of pick at them, kind of fluff them up like you would do, like if your pillow goes flat, you would want to fluff it up. So that's what they're doing with his feathers. They're keeping him nice and fluffy. Like I said, his feathers are very soft, and they're not capable of being his only source of staying warm. He's got to still have his mom help him stay warm. As the chick gets bigger, he and the other chicks no longer need to stay with on their parents' feet. Instead, they stay together to keep warm. This group of chicks is called a crochet, or a nursery. The chick now spends most of his time here, but he still rushes to his mother or father to be fed when either one of them come back from the ocean. So, this right here is like little penguin daycare. So it's called a crochet, which is a nursery or like a preschool. It's somewhere that all of the penguin parents put their babies, and then these big penguins watch over them. And then they only need to go to their parents for food. Sometimes the chick and the other young penguins dig their beaks into the ice to help them walk up a slippery hill. They toboggan down fast on their fluffy bellies. The chick grows and grows. After 5 months, he has grown into a junior penguin. He is old enough to travel to the ocean. Now he has a weatherproof coat of feathers instead of fluffy down. He can swim in the icy cold waters because his feathers keep him dry and warm. So now, see how he still has his fluffy, he has a little bit of fluffy feathers still left up here, but here his feathers are nice and smooth like the adult penguins. So now his feathers are waterproof. The water can't get in and make him cold. So now he can go swimming in the ocean. The young penguin spends most of his time in the water. He swims, flapping his flippers as if he were flying underwater. He uses his webbed feet to steer wherever he wants to go. He catches a fish with his beak and swallows it head first. So, because the penguins can't fly in the air, the author kind of says he uses his flippers as if he was flying underwater. So it's like he's flying, but in water, because he can go really, really fast underwater, just like a bird can when they fly up in the sky. So the author's making that comparison in the fact that he is a bird, but he can't fly like a real bird would, so he's flying under the water. Now the young penguin can catch his own food and take care of himself. In about 5 years, he'll find a mate. Then he'll take care of his own egg until the chick can hatch. So, if you look at this picture of the penguin families, you can tell a lot of things by this picture. You can tell that the members of a penguin family really care about each other. The mom and dad have their heads together and they're kind of looking down at their baby and the baby's looking up. That lets you know that they're really caring. They take really good care of each other. They support each other. And then if you think about it as a life cycle, so this baby penguin grows up into one of these big penguins, and then the life cycle starts all over. He then finds a mate, and they have babies of their own, and then there's a baby penguin, and then it grows up to be a junior penguin, and then it becomes an adult penguin. So the cycle kind of continues throughout their lives. I hope you enjoyed this story. I really like this story. So I hope you read along and you practice reading the story that I send to you as well. There's a lot of information in this story about penguins that I think you could write an informational paragraph about, kind of like what we did with the octopuses. You could write one about all of the facts that you learned about a penguin. You could kind of tell their story, what happens first, next, then, and last in a penguin's life cycle. So I will share with you next week's story next week, and I hope you have a good rest of your week. Bye.